Alright, I'm trying to go to Mexico to escape from the dreaded Diddy jail while date nights on my tail, along with Border Patrol. Find him! I don't care where you have to look, search everywhere! Sir, yes, sir! I know you out there, voice, and when I find you, Diddy awaits! Sir, he's never here, sir! Well, he's gotta be somewhere, we at the wall. And I know he don't got no passport. It's only a matter of time, voice. It's only a matter of time. My instinct's like a puma. I'm focused. Show yourself! Show yourself! I ain't never gonna show myself, ever. Not until after November. He ain't never gonna find me either. Because as you can see, I can now turn invisible, as us black cats can do. And now that I can hide myself fully from night, it's time to talk about the real waifus. And ask the real questions. Of course, this question has to do with a Halloween monster of my choosing. And obviously it's the Invisible Man. Or in this case, the Invisible Woman. Alright. I started thinking about this waifu more and more as I watched the gameplay of the game Dispatch. And y'all out there who have seen that game already know what I'm thinking. Ooh yeah, I know y'all know what I'm thinking. Miss Perfect over here, otherwise known as the Blonde Blazer, may seem like the best waifu of the game, but those who think that are a The Blonde Blazer is the type of chick who will smile on your face and kiss you on your cheek and then ask you for $100. Now you're expecting to get some play, but what you don't know is she got like 5 baby daddies, or in her case, a super baby daddy, who she got 10 kids with, and a dog viewer. I 100% guarantee you that woman is evil. Now in comparison, Invisible, or more or less Invisigal, maybe a little rough around the edges, you know, she's a little, stern, a little harsh, a little rough around the edges, but at least she's honest about the way she feels at least. And the way I believe she feels is horny.
Profesh.
Hey yo, what the?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
So, you two fuck or what?
Better question, what were you doing in a conference room, sitting silently, watching your new dispatch coworker strip? Don't try to get out of your perverted actions by asking perverted questions. Now, I'm not saying she's a pervert, all I'm saying is,
I know what you are!
Now, before we talk any more about Invisigal, we must first talk about the lore of the Invisible Man, or at least invisibility as a whole. Now, I have read words, and those words were, get good. Screw you, Hornet.
Get good!
But seriously though, one of the first stories about invisibility that I read about was about a guy named Jagees, or at least I believe that's how it's pronounced. There's apparently many different ways to pronounce this name, and I am not about to say all of them. But in the story of the Ring of Jagees, Jagees was a shepherd who finds a magic ring that can make him invisible, and Bro goes full Sanji mode with that invisibility. He uses his power to seduce the queen, to murder the king, and to seize control over a kingdom. And I mean, I would judge, but he did more than the Hobbit could do. Now the story's narrative poses the ethical question of whether a person would act justly if they could escape all consequences through invisibility. And obviously the answer is no. I mean, what does society think? We live in a world of good people? Most people, if they had this power, man or woman, would use it in bad and mostly likely perverted ways. I know I do. Now this story comes from the ancient Greek philosophers Plato's book called The Republic. And also in Greek mythology specifically, I found out that some gods and heroes can turn invisible. Specifically, Hades and Perseus, both using the same item called the Cap of Invisibility. It's also called the Helm of Hades, the Helm of Darkness, and the Cap of Hades. Now my main point is, these stories may have inspired the idea of invisibility, but the very first thing that inspired the idea of the Invisible Man was a book written in 1897 by a man named H.G. Wells, and the precise book was called The Invisible Man. And in this story, the brilliant and arrogant scientist named Griffin discovers a way to make himself invisible, but cannot reverse the process. Tragic. Or is it? Because even though he's invisible and can't reverse the process, he does become isolated and increasingly unhinged. Another feeling. Plus, he descends into madness, which I don't really know why he goes mad because he did it to himself. But either way, he goes mad and uses his invisibility to commit crimes and terror. Now this story permanently cemented the Invisible Man as an iconic horror and sci-fi archetype. Now, the only problem I have with this archetype is the Invisible Man, at least to me, is not scary. And it becomes even less scary to me when you make the Invisible Man an Invisible Woman. It's like, okay, she's invisible, but she can still get shot. I mean, a cockroach hiding under her shoe has more aura than she does. Now, I will continue thinking this way until I read about the first Invisible Woman in fiction, which is also my first choice on this list. Now, who is the first Invisible Woman in fiction? Apparently, it's Sue Storm. She first appeared in Fantastic Four #1 in November 1961. I couldn't find any other Invisible Woman before her. So that means that she is the poster child for Invisible Woman everywhere. But now, to answer the main question, does this Invisible Waifu have any cons? Let's find out. Now, the first con for the Invisible Woman is her extremely sexy barefoot persona, Malice. Yeah, I know I don't see the con either, but stay with me. Because even though Malice is just downright sexy, she is still the malicious persona of Sue Storm. And Malice is also called the Mistress of Hate, and the she-devil who lies within. Now the reason she's called these things is due to how she was created. And apparently she was created when a traumatized and emotionally vulnerable Sue Storm was suffering emotionally after a miscarriage. And apparently at this time, she was targeted by Psycho Man's hate-monger android. And this villain's android basically amplified all Sue's repressed negative feelings and insecurities, turning her into Malice and giving her that goth girl-like drip. Now the thing that makes Malice really dangerous is the fact that Sue Storm by herself is already very powerful. Because besides her invisibility, Sue Storm can also create force fields. But most of the time when she creates them as Sue Storm, she creates them for defense or to protect others. As Malice though, she becomes unhinged and she uses her force fields more destructively. Now the main thing that Malice can do with her force fields that scare the hell out of me is create internal force fields. Now this basically means she can place a force field inside your body and expand it. And by this I obviously mean she can make you explode from the inside out. And no matter how you look at it, that is quite unsettling. Plus with her invisibility and her shields as a whole, you really can't touch her. Unless you're somehow strong enough to get past her shields. Oh, and there's more. Besides being able to make you spontaneously combust with her shields, apparently once in the comics, she put a force field inside a wizard's body and threatened to give him a heart attack. Also, I've read that she once incapacitated a brainwashed Wolverine by placing a force field in his lungs to cut off his oxygen. That is quite the feat. But apparently thanks to a alternate future Franklin Richards, which is also Sue Storm's child in the main timeline, 616, because of a future alternate version of her son named Psylord, the Malice personality was eventually able to be dispelled from Sue's body and placed inside the evil version of Reed Richards named Dark Raider. So apparently in the comics, Malice is no more, or at least for now. Retcons can happen and Sue is a woman. And no hate to the ladies out there, but women are always bound to get emotional and very angry sometimes. It just happens. But again, her Malice personality and Sue's potential to be very dangerous and unhinged when angry are her only two cons. But that's it. And those cons don't trump her pros in the slightest. Now, I almost forgot. She is married with a child. But I mean, shit, they ain't stopping me. If I can't get the one in the 616 universe, there are ones in other timelines where you may be able to get a little freaky with. Maybe. And I say this because I know she has some flirtatious moments with Black Panther and other universes, and Namor. However, I don't believe it's confirmed that she's ever cheated on Reed Richards. Especially not in the 616 continuity. So, with that being said, apparently Reed can handle all that. Yay! Nah, screw that. It should have been me. Me! Alright, next one up. Toru Hakakuri for the anime My Hero Academia. Now I know some of you may not want me to talk about her because you still feel like she's a child. However, I look up all the information on everybody I talk about, and I can guarantee you in the manga she is 24 years old. Plus, she now currently looks like this. Yeah, she in her good years now. So you know she's receiving them almighty back shots from somebody. Anyways, the con for her is when she first appeared, she was 15 years old. And I despise children. However, out of all the kids in this class, I would say she is the most pleasant one. I mean, for the most part of the anime, you don't even realize she's there half the time. That is, until she speaks at least. And for the most part, she's always invisible. And her face wasn't even seen until chapter 400 of the manga. And besides being invisible, she can also manipulate and redirect light-based attacks. And I wouldn't really consider her powerful, but honestly, she is very stealthy. Not really what I would call dangerous in the slightest. And also her personality makes her a very fun character. She's considered bubbly, cheery, and easygoing, who does most things with an upbeat attitude. I honestly hate girls like this, always smiling. I'd have to give the quick. Now I know that would be mean, but I come from watching anime like Blood Sea and Berserk. I don't want to see children smiling, I want to see them suffer! And yes, apparently Deku has suffered, but not enough for me. He still got one parent too many. We gotta get rid of her and add some character development. Anyways, the last con for Toru is, apparently she was originally supposed to be a male character, and one can only imagine how that would look. She probably look a lot like she does now, but a man, ugh. Moving on, next one, Invisigal, which is an awful name, you need to change it. But her character design be hitting different. She got that sexy punk look. And now you can correct me if I'm wrong now, but I honestly believe that Invisigal is just a tsundere. Now what's a tsundere? It's an archetype, more or less a character archetype, where the character initially acts cold and hostile or aloof, but gradually reveals a warmer and softer side over time, often becoming a romantic interest. Now why do I say this? There was a scene in the game Dispatch after an argument between Rob, aka Mecha Man, and Invisigal. I'm not sure when she did it, but she left a donut on his desk at one point in the story, but apparently after their argument, she goes back and smashes the donut out of spite. Now apparently she put the donut there in the first place to celebrate his first day at work. Now my thing is, why do you think she would originally do this? Because at no other point in the story has she ever shown us any sort of kindness or softness. But you know, apparently behind our backs, she's putting donuts on Rob's desk. And I know with 100% certainty that she's at least attracted to Rob. I mean, their first actual real interaction, she stated this.
Well, I'm wet. I see why you like him. Look at that trip. What? How does that look? Best Buy Fight Club? Fucking hot.
Anyways, compared to the other two on this list, she has, well, a lot of cons. She was once a criminal that went by the name Invisibitch, and during her criminal days, she apparently committed assault, larceny, and robbery. So that lets me know immediately that she's not above using her powers for, well, selfish reasons and perverted reasons. Plus, she's described as asthmatic, abrasive, and abrasive here means showing little concern for the feelings of others. She's also described as harsh and aloof. So yeah, she's a tsundere. She's also not as powerful as the first two waifus I mentioned. She can apparently only stay invisible for as long as she's holding her breath. And of course, like I said before, she's asthmatic. But she does have hands though, I'll give her that. All in all, I think as a character, she's gonna grow on us. I want to give it till the rest of the game comes out and then I'll talk about her again. I'll make the video personally about her. Until then though, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. And there he is! I see him! Oh shit. Damn it! Remember why I still can voice? Without a passport, you ain't going nowhere. Nowhere!